Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. This video is about a private security officer who uses deadly physical force against a person who has driven their vehicle at them and has actually struck them with the vehicle. And has backed up and is attempting to do it again. And the person who is doing that is a person who is a trespasser on this property. So the other video that I have that shows this body cam footage and shows the crime scene photographs, autopsy photographs, court case documents, shows the interview of the security officer, all that stuff with no commentary whatsoever, is about 3 hours long. I'm not going to be able to show every single thing that was in that no commentary video and then be able to add commentary to it. That would probably make it like a 6-8 hour video. So I'll just go off this one body cam footage. And some background on this is this is in Oregon, and the property here, it is a large business park type of property where there's multiple businesses in one developed piece of land, and it's called Delta Park. I think it's called Delta Park Center, I believe it is. And there is a company called Lowe's that has a building on this property. And the issue is this guy in this truck right here, Freddy Nelson, he has like a little side business where he goes and collects the damaged pallets from places that get pallets, right? And I don't know what he does with them, but he buys these pallets, or he picks them up. It sounds like he picks them up and then he does something with them. Obviously selling them or something to make money off of it. He has talked to a person inside Lowe's who has told him that he can do it. However, the property, or that plot of land managed by that big company, the Delta Park Center or whatever, they have rules against this kind of stuff. They don't just want random people coming in there grabbing pallets and stuff like that. They want people who are vendors, who are registered vendors, etc. Right? Like they want people who are legit. They've got a business. They've got, I guess, probably what they're wanting is to prove that they got insurance or something like that. So if they get hurt, they got their own stuff to cover them. Versus if they're coming on property, then the property's insurance has to cover them if they get hurt. So the overall property management does not want them there. However, there's one person inside Lowe's who, for whatever reason, is allowing them to come there and do that. And the property owners have hired the security company to enforce the rules of that property, and that is one of the rules, is these people can't be coming and picking up the pallets. And they have dealt with this guy on multiple occasions. There are 3 body cam recordings prior to this incident, spread out over a few days, I believe, that they are dealing with this guy, and they explicitly tell him he is not allowed to be coming to this property and doing that. And of course he says, well, I got permission, yada yada yada. So that is one issue right there, is when you have one person within an entity who goes against the rules and then tells someone they can do something. And then you have security who is enforcing these rules that are almost essentially being undermined by someone who has some type of managerial power and is cutting their legs out from under them. So This whole situation, the whole situation, I think could have been solved um, with setting people down, talking to them, delivering clear expectations, delivering clear instructions. Whoever it was in Lowe's, the security company supervisor and this property management supervisor or manager, owner, whatever, needed to meet with the manager of Lowe's and have a face-to-face meeting and go over the issue of what's going on, and potentially even invite this Freddy guy, have him come. Everyone's in the same room. The owner of the property, if he says, I don't want this guy here unless he is in a vehicle that has a company logo on the side, he has his business license, insurance, blah, blah, blah. If he has that, yes, he can be an approved vendor and come on property and conduct business. If not, he is not allowed to be here. And if that would have been done in a meeting with the property owner, manager, the security owner, manager, the Lowe's manager, and this Freddy person, I don't think it would have come to this. Since this guy, and what's going on is this is a form of sergeant shopping, right? Like, he gets no from a bunch of other people, but one person tells him yes. So that gives him his golden ticket, right? That gives him his foot in the door, and he's like, oh, someone told me I could do it. I'm coming in. So there are people who are like that, right? Like, you give a mouse a cookie, they're going to want a glass of milk, and he is certainly one of those people. And this guy also has an attitude problem. Like, he has oppositional defiant disorder. Like, he is textbook oppositional defiance disorder. When you watch those other body cam recordings, you can tell that. Like, this guy, he does not like authority at all. He does not like being told what to do. He has a character problem. He has an attitude problem. And the wife even kind of alludes to this in the interview with the police. She mentions that security has scared everyone else off. They've run everyone else off who are coming and trying to do this thing. And she mentions that Freddy stood up to them and he wasn't going to back down. So, number one, a lack of clear communications. Now, you'll see some documents in the other video where Cornerstone is having emails with property manager, group manager, whatever. Emails, stuff like that, text messages, those are communications. But the best thing is to sit down in person and hash it out. That way there's no questions later. There's no guesses. The second issue is how security has dealt with this guy. And in those other recordings, they end up doing what a lot of police do. Do this, or else I'm going to tell you to do it again if you refuse. I'm not going to tell you one more time. And then they do it. And then they say, I'm not going to tell you one more time. Then they do it. And then they say, I'm not going to tell you one more time. In Oregon, the security have the ability to make an arrest for trespassing. So not every state allows for that. There's only so many states out there that allow private security to lawfully detain / arrest people for the criminal offense of trespassing. It is written in their state law. Private security can put handcuffs on them. They can detain them. They can forcibly put handcuffs on them. They can take them to the ground and wrestle them into a pair of handcuffs. It is legal for them to do that. And in those other 3 body cam recordings, um, they there's a couple of times where they tell him they're going to arrest him, and he's like, "No, you're not." And then one of them's like, "I'm about to." So you can only bluff for so long until somebody calls your bluff, right? Like a little chihuahua. It's all bark, right? Once people figure out you're all bark and you're not going to bite, they know they can get one on you. And so I think that had a major influence on this occurring. Those prior interactions with security, this guy got to stand up to them, defy them, and get away with it, with nothing happening to him. And then come back and do the thing that they have told him they don't want him doing. He comes back, does it again. They get in his face, accost him of what he's doing, threaten to arrest, but never follow through with it. And then he leaves and comes back. It's a recurring cycle. So this guy, that sends the message to this guy that, well, they're not going to do shit. They just stand here and threaten to arrest me multiple times, and they never do it. And then I come back and do the thing again, and they say that, well, we'll let you leave this time with them, but don't come back. And then does it again, and same thing happens again. It's just it's like raising a kid. You know, you tell your kid, don't do this, 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 and you never back it up with any consequence, guess what? They're going to do whatever it is you told them not to do. Don't throw that ball in the house. 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 And they throw it. Don't throw the ball in the house, and they throw it. Don't throw the ball in the house, and they throw it. Don't throw the ball in the house, and they throw it. And you do nothing, guess what? They're going to continue to throw the ball in the house until you spank that ass. Plain and simple. The security company officers played a role, ultimately, I think, in leading to this situation. I would imagine that also within that area, um, some of the same stuff probably occurs with law enforcement. Oregon's kind of it's right there with Washington. Um, a lot of liberalness going on, and I would not be surprised to find out if you know the cops have had their hands tied behind their backs, just like most cops in big woke cities have had their hands tied behind their backs, and have probably had to do similar things. Don't do this or else. Don't do this or else, and then or else never comes. And that just further empowers people to think that they can do whatever the hell they want to do because they got away with doing something. They got to get away with raising their voice to authority. They got to get away with defying authority. So lack of clear communication, lack of positive control by security, um, lack of them taking the initiative to do the thing that they threatened to do. They should have, in those other body cam recordings, they shouldn't have sat around and just threatened to arrest. They should have went ahead and went forward with performing that arrest. Another issue that that led into this, I believe, is knowing the prior history of this guy and knowing what is likely to occur when confronting them, and then doing it without any backup. In his interview, he talked about when he would arrive on shift that there would be someone else kind of on that property somewhere, not on the Lowe's property, but somewhere within that Delta Park place that he would end up meeting up with at some point, and then hanging out with them till the end of their shift or something like that. I couldn't remember the details of it, but it's kind of like there's another one in the area, and in the other body cam footage, you'll see that there's two of them who deal with this guy. So there's a possibility that there's another security guy somewhere within the vicinity. And knowing what this guy's prior history is like, what he's going to be like, I do think it was a bit of a failure on the security officer not to potentially utilize that other security officer if they were there. I don't know what the full schedules and everything were, that there may not have been another security officer there. Even then, going at this alone, he should have known that this guy's going to resist. And it's not a good idea to try to do something like that all by yourself. So as far as his tactical planning, I think he did fail on that part by trying to go at this all by himself. I think he should have waited, had some backup arrive, either security or police get there, and then go effect the arrest. He didn't have to get out right then and there and try to get them to leave. We've obviously seen in the other videos that it doesn't really work on this guy. He just kind of defies them and acts stupid. What I think he should have done is wait. Like, he obviously spotted them. He knew they were there. He should have waited, called for backup, and had them start coming. If he would have sat back and observed and watched what they were doing and watched that they walked inside the building, he could have then, while waiting for backup to get there, go ahead and call a tow company. Even if the police said that they were coming, who knows what their response time is like? A trespassing call is not a high priority call, and in a large city like that, they're going to have other higher priority calls that they're going on. So it's feasible that if he would have called police, that it could have been a 2-hour wait for them to get there. Tow companies don't generally take that long. You call a tow company, they get there pretty quick, right? Because that's money. That is money. So what he could have done was sit back, watch them get out of the car, watch them walk inside, call police, get them started, and then call the tow company. And then when the tow company got there, direct them to go ahead and tow that vehicle, get it off the property. And then while he may be still waiting for the police to get there, and they have not gotten there, this car is gone. And then the people would come out, and of course, they would be upset about that. But they wouldn't have a vehicle to get into. He wouldn't have the vehicle to start up and try to drive over the security officer with. Potentially would not have had that can of pepper spray that he had to spray at the security guard. I think that would have been a better option. And then these people, they'd probably stand there and cause a scene, whatever. But obviously standing there is not going to do anything about it, right? Like, they're going to want to go get their vehicle, so they would eventually leave to go get their vehicle out of the tow truck impound. Tow companies are a good resource for dealing with trespassers, and that's like, trying to deal with them there, knowing when they're going to be argumentative, knowing when they're going to be combative, knowing that there's going to be that power struggle, don't give into it. Don't give them that satisfaction. Let them get by with trespassing for a temporary amount of time, and then get the tow truck to come and take their damn car. That is called chess, right? Not checkers. Checkers is when you just run up to them and start addressing the issue of them trespassing and getting into that power struggle right then and there. Chess is where you wait for them to get away from the car and then you tow their damn car. So then when they come out, they don't have a damn car anymore. And whatever weapons they may have had in that car are gone. They're not available to them anymore. Whatever they have available to them is what they have on their person, what they're carrying on them. I've done this before. I've waited for people to get away from their car and then call a tow truck. Aside from it being a good tactic to, reset their OODA loop, remove any potential weapons and stuff from play, it's also, honestly, it's a power play. It really is when you can one up them like that. Like, I just legally stole your car. Like, I mean, you didn't because you don't have the tow truck, but you got the tow truck to come get it, right? That is a huge power play over them, and people like it. There's nothing they can do about it, right? Not a thing they can do about it. They're trespassing. Even if they're not trespassing, you having managerial powers over that property, you have the final say on whether or not what can be there or not. And you tow something, guess what? It's going to be at the owner's expense. It doesn't get any clearer than that. It is closed book, case closed, right? So that was something he could have done. Or, like I said, wait for backup to get there and then go deal with this person. I want to go back to talking about, the meeting with the property manager, owner, the Lowe's manager, the security manager, whatever, and security having the contract to go on the property and stuff like that. It is very important that contracts be worded in a way that security has the ultimate say in regards to safety and security. My security contracts word that very specifically. In fact, it is worded in my contracts that the client waives any rights to have any say whatsoever in who is allowed to be on property or be allowed at an event, and that security has the ultimate say in that. I also have it worded in my contracts that the client understands that they themselves can be removed from the property. And sometimes some people kind of, they kind of cock their heads sideways on that when they're like, what's this about? And you got to think about it from the mindset of having that control, right? You can't go into a city and expect that things are going to be running correctly if a person gets pulled over by a city police officer and then the mayor comes up and says, "Oh, I know this person. You can go ahead and just let them go. Yeah, you don't need to write them a ticket. No, they're fine. I know them. They're good. You just leave and go back to what you was doing." That would be unacceptable. That would 110% undermine the safety and security of the community when you knock the legs out from under the safety and security actors. When you undermine people like that, it demotivates them. It delegitimizes the position, and it emboldens and empowers the rule breakers. When they know all they got to do is go to someone who's in charge and be like, "Hey, man, tell this guy to get lost. Tell him I'm cool. Tell him I know you." So you're never going to go into a city and see a mayor do that. The mayor's not going to come up and be like, I know them. They're good." You're never going to see the governor come up to a traffic stop and be like, "No, they're good. I know them." You just, "Hey, trooper, go back on to, go over there to that side of the county. Like, I think they need you over there. Just leave this guy alone." Like, there may be some influence here and there. Like, "Hey, man, can you, rip this ticket up, whatever." But it's not a blatant, rampant thing where people in charge are coming up saying, "Oh, no, they're cool. I know them. Just let them go." That can't happen. It should never happen. And so the same should transfer over into the safety and security of the private industry, right? Like, you should not have people coming up telling security like, "Oh no, this person who's fighting and beating these other people up and causing a problem. Oh no, they're cool. I know them. They can come back inside. Oh no, they can remain on the property. They're cool. I know them. Oh yeah, just go back over there. We don't need you. You're fine." No, that that delegitimizes the position. No one starts to take them serious if that occurs. It emboldens, empowers the bad actors. "Oh, I just got away with doing something I was not supposed to be doing, and this person who's in some type of authority figure position just got told to go somewhere else and leave me alone." Of course that's going to make them wild out, right? They're going to turn up the volume. I've seen it so many times. Working in the many years ago. I feel old now being able to say that. But many years ago, many moons ago, seen that firsthand working in the bar industry. The bar owner knew some people, and usually the damn football players. They go cause a fight, or even if maybe some former employees or something like that. I cannot remember this guy's name. He used to be a bouncer way back in the day for this guy Craig. I can see his face. I just cannot remember his name. But bigger guy, and the dude's a bully. I mean, just a straight up bully. And he's one of those people that you can't take out drinking, because the minute they start drinking, they get stupid. Like, they get aggressive. And this dude was an aggressive asshole. And he would start fights with people in the bar, knowing that the owner wasn't going to get rid of him because he used to work for him, and they were kind of, I won't say friends, but they knew each other well enough to where obviously the owner would take up for him and say, "Nah, he's cool, he can stay." And this guy didn't come out a whole lot, thankfully. But whenever he did come out, man, holy shit, dude. Like, it was every damn time he came out, there was a fight, and he was in the middle of it. And we would want to get rid of him, but the owner was like, "Oh, no, he's cool, he's fine, he can come back in." And then, sure shit, later on in the night, something else would pop off, and guess who's in the middle of it? That fucking dude. I wish I could remember his damn name. But anyway, that's one thing that comes to the top of my mind, is that guy right there. And then other things, like having work security at other events and parties and stuff. Sometimes, the DJ is the one who's kind of orchestrating stuff. He's the promoter, or sometimes there's someone else who is a promoter, but they don't do the DJing or anything else. They're just kind of there orchestrating it all. And then there's a problem. Some fight breaks out, and one of their buddies is in it, and then they are like, "Oh no, this person's cool, they can stay." Well, Sometimes, a lot of times, later on in the night, later on, something else pops off. And guess who's right in the middle of it? That buddy is right there in the middle of it, causing problems again. So, there has to be clear and concise rules established for safety and security. And the people who are going to be in charge of security, they need to be able to have that final say. They don't need someone else coming in and undermining them. Not right there in the moment. Now, later on, after everything's settled, things have kind of cooled down, yeah, sure. Things can be reversed, but not right then and there. Um, and when there is a lack of that type of control, you can see some security officers taking on this mindset of not giving a damn because they know if they start to go to do something, um, Rusty, Rusty, I think that's that dude's name, Rusty. Um, Sorry, squirrel moment. um, was it Rusty? I can't remember. Anyway, crap, where was I? You'll start to see security like not give a damn anymore because they're like, oh, if I go do this, I'm just going to be told no on it, or they're going to reverse my decision. So I'm just not even going to go bother with it. So that kind of mindset can take place. Um, because they know that whoever else is in charge is not going to back them up, you can then see some of the weaker minded security people just kind of go along with that other person and start to see them as being the ones who call the shots and control and run everything, and just kind of become their little lackey or whatever. And then that doesn't help the overall safety and security of things. So security, like I said, they need to have the final say when it comes to safety and security. They don't need some other person going around undermining them. And this person who was in Lowe's, who was going around saying that this guy's okay to be there, that one, after talking to this person, that should have been the next person that the security went to go talk to and explicitly tell them, hey, we've told this person they can't be here. You have no authority to override us and say that he can come back. And then, of course, document that stuff and send it up the chain to the property management themselves. And of course, the main manager of Lowe's, or the regional manager of Lowe's itself. All right, so positioning. So when he gets to the front of the vehicle here, and he goes off to the side and he sprays and he comes back, he's to the front of the vehicle and the vehicle starts. That is not a good place to be standing, in the front of the vehicle. A vehicle can crush a human body really bad. It is heavy weight, several hundred pounds of weight. And I don't care how many days of the week you go to the gym, you're not going to be able to lift a car off of you. So aside from the crush injuries, you have tear, ripping type of injuries that can occur when a vehicle hits into you and drags you across, the ground or another object or something like that. Going into the undercarriage of the vehicle, having severe burns from, the undercarriage and everything. A vehicle can do a lot of damage. A lot of damage. It can kill people, right? I mean, hell, look at all the damn dead animals on the side of the road hit by cars, right? Obviously, they're deadly. Um, so standing to the front of a vehicle is never the place you want to be at, especially when you hear the thing turn on. Like, you hear a vehicle turn on and someone's behind it, and they're someone you've been dealing with, and they're aggressive. You're standing on the X. You need to get off the X, because they throw that thing in gear, your ass is getting run over. So when he ends up being back to the front of the vehicle, that is the worst place for him to be at. He should not have been standing there. He should have been standing off the X, off to the side, where this guy is not going to be able to drive over him. So that's kind of the second mistake, I guess you could say, that this guy made, was standing in front of the vehicle. And then the third mistake that this officer made was being an organ. Yeah, like, screw that place. Screw Washington. Like, screw those woke places, man. Like, they hate authority. They hate cops. They hate security because they look at security as wannabe cops. It's just not worth it working in places like that. It's really not. Like, leave those places. Go to more friendly places. What this security officer did, I really see no different than what I've seen countless other police officers do. Like, how many times have you watched dash cam footage or body cam footage of an officer who's to the front of a vehicle, and that vehicle drives towards them, and then the officer shoots into the vehicle at the person, and then nothing legally happens to them? Now, there have been some cases where an officer was brought up on charges, but when you start looking at the politics of that area, there's a bunch of woke liberal bullcrap going on in those places, and they got hung out to dry. But anywhere else where you've got logical, reasonable minded people, they say that, oh, a person's in the vehicle, driving this vehicle towards you, this vehicle weighs X amount of pounds, it can kill you very easily. Oh yeah, that is a 110% justifiable use of deadly physical force to protect yourself. No questions asked. That's logical. It's reasonable. In certain areas, logic goes out the window, especially when you got a lot of woke dummies in power. And it is clear to me that the police on scene saw this as justifiable use of force, because they did not arrest this guy right afterwards. He went home. It wasn't until this incident went before the grand jury that anything came of this. So that to me is pretty telling, right? You see this crime scene photographs where they take measurements of the tire marks on the ground. Like when this guy like speeds forward and hits the security officer, hits him with the vehicle, he takes off so quickly that he leaves tire marks in the pavement. And they have measuring tape showing that. They have measuring tape on the ground, photographs of that, and you see the tire marks on the ground where he took off so quickly that it left tire marks on the ground. Other things they documented on the scene shows to me that the police there knew that this was a legit, justifiable use of force for self-defense. Because if they would have thought anything different, they would have arrested him. Countless times, like I said, you see incidents similar to this. Bad guys driving towards officers, officers shooting in the vehicle, and they are justified in their actions. Unfortunately, for this guy, One, being in a woke area played against them, and then two, because of that woke area, um, and him being in security, like a lot of people just don't like security. They really don't. Um, it's like security is like the redheaded stepchild of law enforcement, I guess you could say. Um, and there's a lot of people who look at security as just wannabe cops. They'll say stupid shit like, "Oh, you're academy reject. You flunked the academy. You couldn't pass the academy, or couldn't get hired. Blah blah blah. So you had to go work security." Um, a lot of people have that kind of mindset, and then a lot of people also have the mindset that security is not supposed to do anything at all other than observe and report. Um, and even in these states where security has the lawful ability to make an arrest, there's people in those states who they don't know that. They have no idea about that. Um, and so I think that probably also ended up hurting this security officer when it came to his trial. Had he been a law enforcement officer and pulled up to deal with this guy and this thing happened, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that that officer would never be charged. I just don't see it happening. I don't think it would happen. I mean, it's possible, you know, in that woke area, but the likelihood of it's not very high. So I think some of it does have to do with the fact that he's just a security guard, and some people have this mindset of, well, security shouldn't be doing this. They're doing too much. They need to call the police. um, well, that's why security's there, right? Because you can't have police everywhere every single second. So police or security is hired to be there to do the things because the police can't be there to do it themselves because there's just not enough of them. But that just kind of goes way over some people's heads sometimes. All right, so not much else to say about my thoughts on why this kind of occurred. Let's get into the actions itself. So let's drop this volume a little bit and hit play. And of course,
the fuck off my property. You know you've been trespassed. You know you're not supposed to be here.
All right, so she tried to activate a recording device on the dash. It didn't activate because when they went through and looked at this stuff, they didn't find any recordings on there. And also in her interview, she says that security's been harassing them and been causing problems to them, and that they got this dash cam thing to be able to start recording them because they were going to want to hire an attorney to deal with that. I think it's kind of funny how the guy who wants to act tough and you say no, not going to happen. As soon as he comes over there, he he slams that door shut and locks the door.
You refusing to leave my property?
All right, so he comes up. He tells him he's trespassing, and he comes up closer to the vehicle and asks, "Are you refusing to leave the property?" Of course, the guy says, "Yeah." So this guy then, the officer then takes action, and under his state law, he is able to arrest this guy for trespassing. And so this is partly what he's doing. He's spraying into the vehicle. He's in his interview. He says that he saw him reaching for something, thought he had a weapon, but I think he had also mentioned at one point that he's trying to get him to come out of the vehicle as well. And I have no problem with this at all. Like, if he is going to be effecting an arrest and this guy's locked the doors, but he sees this window open, hey, spray some OC in there. Make that an uninhabitable space where no one wants to be in there. They're not going to camp out in there all day, right? Like, no one's going to sit in a little cramped space with freaking pepper spray floating around the air. They're going to most likely come out of that vehicle. She obviously came out of that vehicle real quick, right? Like, she didn't want to be in there. This guy, he endured it a little bit and stayed in there, but then rolled his window down and started spraying at this officer. Had this been a law enforcement officer, again, I see no problem with this whatsoever. And I don't think that the officer would have been charged. If he was a law enforcement officer, I don't think he would have been charged for doing this. And this was another thing that he ended up being found guilty of. On top of murder second, he also was found guilty of, I forget the wording of it. It's like mace, OC, taser, unlawful use, or something like that. So basically they charged and convicted him for pepper spraying this guy without reason. Or justifiable reason, which again I said I think is bullcrap. I think this would be a justified means to try to effect the arrest, get this guy to come out of the vehicle.
You fucking asshole! Oh, I'm talking What? Fucker! Fucking asshole!
I told you to leave property!
Get the fuck out of here!
I told you to leave property! You've been trespassed and warned multiple times!
I'm calling the police. Son of a bitch. Get the... God damn it!
Get the fuck out the vehicle now!
So as I said, standing in front of the vehicle, not a good idea. And especially after hearing it start. As soon as he heard that start, he should have moved. He should have immediately got off the X. He's lucky that this dude just didn't keep pressing the accelerator. Because if he did, he would have drove him back into his own cruiser and pinned him in between his cruiser and this guy's truck. And potentially caused significant damage to him. Could have had some crush injuries of the pelvic region, depending on how tall he is and everything, and how he would have hit and maybe fell. Could also see some, broken ribs, broken spine. It could have been really, really bad for him. The officer himself could have died from that. We also see that after he sprays and the woman starts arguing her piece, that he starts to verbalize his side and make himself sound to her that he's in the right. If he's going for the mindset of effecting an arrest on this guy, he should have been focused on wanting to do that, right? Instead of trying to get into this yelling match with this woman, get into this power struggle with this woman.
You already tried to hit me once! You move this vehicle again, I will fire!
So aside from, let me back this up 10 more seconds.
Vehicle now! You already tried to hit me once! You move this vehicle!
So aside from him wanting to make an arrest for trespassing, now, at this point, he should be able to make an arrest for the assault. That he is, the not just a simple assault, like a damn near attempted, like, we'll call this attempted murder. I mean, if Oregon has the charge of attempted murder, this is it, right? This is assault with a deadly weapon. So right now, he should have the legal ability to arrest this guy for trying to kill him. Like, the trespassing part is now out the window. The trespassing part is small fish. Now the big fish is this attempted murder that this guy tried to do on this officer.
Again, I will fire!
And again, going back to what I said, getting off the X, right? Like, why stand there? You're not going to defeat a vehicle. Like, your human body is not going to stop a car. This truck would drive completely over him. So it just was not a good idea for him to stand there where he was. And him standing there is also something that ended up hurting him in his trial. I believe it's the duty to retreat kind of bullcrap that they kind of talked about at his trial. And I guess that's what they, want in that state. And so they asked him about it. Why didn't you try to get out of the way? And I believe his wording was, he couldn't notice what was around him, right? Like, he basically had tunnel vision and just didn't notice his avenues of escape to get out of there. But taking that part out, taking this duty to retreat crap out, again, the tactical thing is, don't stand right in front of a car. Like, the car is going to win. Trust me. The car will win. That's why I teach in my vehicle tactics class. If your car is on and in gear and there's a threat in front of you, don't waste your time trying to shoot through the windshield. Don't waste your time. Smash that accelerator and drive them over. V8 beats 9mm every single day. I don't care what part of the world you're in. A car is going to beat a gun. You drive over somebody, right? Like, it's going to work every time. So, just bad idea on him to be standing right there in front of this car.
I told you to...
So, he fires 4 shots and he hits 3 times. One round is right above his left eye. It has kind of hit in that orbital socket area. Another round has gone into his left chest area, and then terminated into his spine, his vertebrae, and then the other one has gone into his shoulder and has just stopped within the shoulder area. But we see that this guy is still moving, right? So let's back it up, and I'll take the sound down too, because it's just a lot. But watch this guy's face after he fires. You see him looking around. He's making this kind of almost a yelling noise, kind of looks like. You see him looking around, bobbing his head. So it was not instantaneously lethal on this guy. It was, in my opinion, physically incapacitating. I think that probably what has happened is that round that went in and ended into his vertebrae, I think that probably paralyzed him from that point down. And he was unable to smash the accelerator anymore because he just couldn't send any signals down to his legs anymore to make them work. And the whole head moving, and you see his mouth opening and everything, like he's gasping for air or maybe yelling or screaming or something like that. It's hard to say if this guy was conscious and aware of what was going on in that moment, or if that was just the human body doing what it does, just going through its motions before lights out. But he is still alive for a short amount of time while inside this car. I'll see it one more time. And his mouth movements, it almost seems like he's kind of saying something or talking. Now it gets to this point right here where you see the way his head's bobbing, I think he is starting to lose some consciousness here. Like, I think he's starting to experience an altered mental status at this point. You see the head rolling backwards some. And then he starts to get his phone out and call. Now, another thing, so you see him get shot, and then the wife obviously goes hysterical, and then does like a little bunny hop off to the side. Watch her do the little bunny hop. And during this whole time, she is acting erratically. She's acting hysterical. And like I said, you can tell that in the first part right here, like he's moving around, right? Like he's making movements. He's moving his head around. Almost looks like he's trying to talk or say something, or I don't know. But she's losing her shit. And, I think that in this moment, while he is still somewhat kind of alive, that she could have been in there with him, talking to him, allowing him to be able to hear her voice for the last time before it's lights out for him. But instead, all she's doing is hopping around like a bunny out here, screaming, hooting, and hollering, and that's probably what this guy could hear as he's faded out, was her screaming and losing her shit. And then maybe, internally, maybe he had thought something happened to her, so now as he's dying, now he may have this fear or scaredness that something has happened to her too. So it's kind of like a double whammy for him, like one, he knows he's been shot. He's punching out, but then he's hearing his wife screaming and hysterically. So now he may be thinking, "Oh my gosh, something happened to my wife, and there's nothing I can do about it." So, there may have been some hopelessness and everything occurring for him as he was passing out. So I think that was kind of a lost opportunity for her to go back in the car to be there with him. Bring the volume back up.
Yes! Oh my God!
You already tried to hit me in the vehicle once, and that is assault. You also used pepper spray. You've been trespassed from the property multiple times.
Freddy! Freddy! It's Freddy! Ah!
So he goes back into this power struggle argument stuff. He is, verbally justifying what he has done. There's no, that's a waste of breath. There's no reasoning with a person like that. Don't even talk to them. I mean, obviously, the reason that they were there in the first place is because you couldn't reason with them to begin with. They were told not to be there. They were told they were trespassing. And what they do? They showed back up. Obviously, they can't be reasoned with. And in a state like that, yeah, there's nothing you're going to say is going to make them be like, "Oh, shit, you're right. You're totally right. Yes, you know what? I'm so sorry for losing my shit. You were right. He was in the wrong. He did try to kill you. My bad." No, that's not going to happen, right? Never going to happen. So don't even waste your breath trying to talk to people like that. Like, it's just going to go nowhere. And it also makes you look kind of stupid, right?
Oh! Oh my God! Oh! The security guard just shot my husband!
So he tries to get on the phone with 911 as well, but he does not seem to get put through. So obviously she has called 911. There's a Lowe's manager back here who has called 911. I think this woman back here is calling police as well. And she also had some camera footage recorded of this incident. Not a whole lot. It was in the files. I looked at it. Wasn't much to it, so I didn't even include it in the other video.
Freddy! 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 Freddy!
So now he has stopped moving, and it's pretty clear it's lights out for him at this point.
Freddy! Freddy! Oh my God, you killed him, you asshole!
I told you, he tried to hit me!
Why'd you shoot him?
Because he tried to hit me with a vehicle! That is assault with a deadly weapon!
You called 911! You killed my husband! Oh!
Are you on the authorities with them right now?
I'm on 911 right now.
Told them that he's been trespassed
I
multiple
watched
times.
you. I watched you.
Okay.
We all watched you. Yes, he's shot. Yes, we definitely. I see blood. Yes.
He's bleeding out.
So even the manager, or this woman, seems to be of the mindset, of the understanding that this security officer acted appropriately, acted lawfully.
Okay.
Do they want me to render aid? I don't know what to do at this
You
point.
want security to render aid?
So this is the part where it's obvious that I think there is a lack of good training, because he starts to ask, well, what do I do at this point? Well, what do you mean do you do at this point? You follow through with what you was doing. Like, if you was going to effect the arrest on this guy, you follow through with that. You pull him out of the car and you put the cuffs on him. And then, once he's secured, you start rendering aid to him. So this is one clear sign that realistic training does not occur for security in general. The firearms training is, in a lot of places, basically just kind of a copy of like the concealed carry firearms part training of what the state has for concealed carry training. It's not very intensive. I mean, it's a very small block of instruction on that state laws, use of force, going into how to work the gun, stuff like that. But there's no reality-based scenarios typically that go along with it. No force-on-force stuff that typically goes along with just basic security training and stuff like that. So when you think about what they're doing on the range with training and everything, they're just starting out in the line shooting targets, right? Getting some of those fundamentals in, and then they're done. They've qualified. They're now, after going through the full classroom stuff and then getting on the range and shooting X amount of rounds at a target and making a score, they are now qualified. They're now certified. That's unrealistic, honestly. It's like you would never see an agency, police agency out there saying, oh yeah, that's good enough. Right? And really the reason why you see that is like Supreme Court cases like Canton versus Ohio, going into training standards and stuff like that, police being sued, having their socks sued off of them, and they say, you know what, we need to avoid stuff like this, so we're going to do some training, and we're going to train for this, we're going to train for that, we're going to do this, train this, train that, train this, train that. And in the private security world, you don't see those kind of things happening. One, because security is not performing law enforcement duties as far as having broad arrest powers and taking people into custody and taking them to jail. That's one of the reasons why law enforcement has such a higher use of force, higher frequency of finding themselves in Supreme Court, That's their job, right? Like, that's the bread and butter of police. You go catch criminals, you go arrest them, you hunt them down. Security's not really doing that, right? I mean, you have some states where they're allowed to make some arrests for like trespassing, stuff like that, but they don't have those broad arrest powers, and they're contained to small properties, right? Like, they don't have citywide, countywide powers at that point. It's only the powers for their properties. So less frequency of them getting involved in things, and since there's less frequency of them getting involved in things, they just haven't gotten in hot water as much as police. And the police getting in hot water has caused them to have to do more realistic training. I kind of think that's going to change, especially when we see in other parts of the country a more heavy reliance on the private security industry. You've got places where the police are understaffed and administrative red tape prevents them from doing what they need to do, and so you've got places that are relying upon private security more heavily. Like, you have entire neighborhoods, homeowners associations who got their own security forces because there's just not enough police to come around and patrol those neighborhoods and do anything there. And that's going to increase the frequency in which security gets involved in things. And then that, of course, is going to increase their chances of landing in hot water and then things changing. We see that right now in the security industry, in my opinion, through how the insurance rates have gone through the freaking roof. It's expensive. The insurance is. It is crazy expensive. And that is because as more and more stuff is going on out there in the world, there's been more occurrences, more instances of security getting involved in those things, and so those rates go up. These insurance companies are trying to dissuade these companies from doing anything. You know, they prefer them to go back into the observe and report kind of arena and never go hands-on with people. But I do see the likelihood of things changing, and states probably eventually changing some things and saying, hey, you all need to do some more training. Your training is not good enough. But before the states take action, I see that probably the insurance companies taking action first and coming up with best practices and saying, hey, if we're going to be covering you, these are the requirements that we expect out of your firearms training curriculum. You need to have this many hours of instruction. You need to be able to fire this many rounds on qualification. You need to do more than one qualification a year. You need to have reality-based scenarios in your firearms training. You must have shoot, no shoot type of scenarios in your firearms training, where officers have to go through critical thinking on when to apply deadly physical force and when not to apply deadly physical force, etc. And if you don't do that, we're not going to insure you anymore. We're going to drop your coverage. So I see the insurance companies doing changes before people in different states' legislation start saying, "Hey, we need to look at the security guys because their training sucks, and they only go through a qualification course to be certified to train. Like, they don't even go through an actual training course. They just stand in front of a target and fire 20 rounds, and now they're certified to go work armed security. Like, that's not acceptable." So yeah, him being clueless on what to do at this point, again, like, total failure in training. He has not been trained good enough.
Are you calling medical? Oh, what do you want him to do?
I'm right here standing by. My camera's on. Everything's been recorded.
Yes, he just shot my husband. Yes, he did. Oh my God.
His wife is-
She's hysterical, and rightfully so.
Yes.
He told me
Yes.
he's been told he trespassed multiple times.
I shot him 4 times because he tried to hit me with the vehicle.
His dad.
Like this guy is just trying to assert his what's the word I'm looking for? His righteousness, I guess you could say, his being right. You know, oh yeah, I had to shoot him 4 times because he tried to hit me with his vehicle. Like, why? Like, you don't know this guy. Like, why the hell are you even wasting your breath trying to explain this to him? Like, what? As if this guy's going to, you know, suddenly at some point be like, oh, you did not have justification to shoot him. I'm going to do something about it. Like, what the fuck's he going to do? What's it matter trying to justify yourself to this guy right here?
They're on the authorities with him right now. He locked his door. He tried to hit me and pin me between the vehicle.
Ma'am, do you have a key to get in the car?
Yeah.
Ma'am, give me a key.
So in the crime scene photos, I had noticed this little sleeve on the hood, and I was like, where the heck did that come from? And then rewatching this, it came from this guy, the guy who was apparently medically trained or something.
This is open. So then he pulled the gun and he said, "Stop, or I'm going to shoot you." And the guy tried to run him over again.
He tried 2 separate times.
Yeah, I know. And he's got it all on his camera.
They're on the phone with the authorities right now. They're talking to 911. She's on the phone as well.
No, I'm standing in front of them. There's 2 paramedic customers helping them.
So I talked about being in control earlier, and it's clear that this guy is way out of his element. He's well out of the range of what he has been trained to do. This guy is like, he's clueless at this point. Like, he has no idea what he needs to be doing. He doesn't understand that realistically this is his scene until someone of higher standing gets there. He is hired for maintaining this property, maintaining the safety and security of this property, being in control of stuff. And he is not in control of stuff right now. He needs to be calling shots, directing what's needing to be going on. He needs to be having a more command presence, and he just does not have that. And that happens a lot in the private security industry because obviously things like this don't occur on a regular basis. It's pretty rare for security to get involved in shootings. I mean, when you look at like your local law enforcement, right? Most places, you look at your local law enforcement, it's been a while since they've been involved in a shooting. And if it's been a while for them and they're out there every single day dealing with shithead criminals all across the city, all across the county, and they rarely get into stuff, and it's been years since they've gotten into stuff, then when you look at the security guards in that same area who only have a handful of properties in that little city or big city, and only have a handful of properties in that entire county, the chances of them being involved in things in comparison to the police in that area is super, 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 super low. If it's already low for the police, then it is quadruple low for security. And so security just doesn't get involved in critical incidents a whole lot. They don't get involved in very high stressful things like this to where they have to be the one in charge, be the one to take control. They're never really put into that position to begin with, especially when things evolve into stuff like this. Now, you know, things are minor, small little things. Yeah, you can see them do what they need to be doing, having that command presence, kind of taking charge. But when big things blow up, like they've never been there before, and they just start to lose control, so to speak, and they don't know what to do. And that's pretty evident right here.
And his wife is calling, "Ma'am, they're on their way. You can hang up. Take care of your husband."
He also attempted to pepper spray me.
He what?
He also attempted.
This guy's coming up, walking through a crime scene here, probably going in to buy him a shovel or something. I mean, you know, and that's one thing that I don't know. Sometimes when I watch videos like this, I'll start to, you know, after watching the meat and potato of the stuff, I'll start to look around in the background and see what's going on, and especially when it comes to dash cam footage, you know. Because the dash cam footage is just stationary. It just sits there. And when you get to certain scenes where things are going on, they keep going on, that camera's just sitting there, you hear the AM, FM radio, you hear a talk show host, you hear music playing in the background. It's just it's like a symbolic thing where it shows that, hey, life goes on. You know, this person's life here ended, but everyone else, they're still rolling. Things are still going on. And right here is case in point, you know. This dude tried to run the security officer over with the vehicle. He fired at him, killed him right there. This woman's bunny hopping around, screaming, going crazy, people running around. And here's this dude walking in the Lowe's, gonna go buy something, gonna go get something, don't know what he's getting, but life's rolling on for him. And it's just, like I said, it's just those little things that just stick out to me sometimes that just, I don't know, it just catches my attention, and I just look at it, and like I said, it's very it's just symbolic to me, I guess, or whatever, that, you know, life goes on. There's everything else going on.
Attempted to pepper spray the Cornerstone guy. Oh, get in! Oh, is that what that was? He shot out the window?
Yep.
Okay. It's all on the guy's camera.
Yeah. He's been trespassed by me, every security member on my team. He's been trespassed by the police, and he's been trespassed by the owner of Delta Park.
So, did you hear all that?
And he continues to come on property.
Okay, so he says he's been trespassed by multiple Cornerstone, by the police, and by
the owner of Delta Park himself.
Delta Park.
Because he continues to come on property and shelter in place in his vehicle.
It is a black and red Nissan truck, license plate 546 JKS.
God, I did not think I would have to do that.
JK Sam, yes. No, she was standing outside.
Here comes another person.
Fucking asshole again.
Of course, they're gonna sympathize with the victim. It's already handled, sir. Just step back.
No. Well, yeah, I think his wife is on the phone screaming.
I know you're trying to help.
I just want to make sure that if there's anything I can do to help.
They're apparently two paramedics.
Okay.
This is out of my scope.
Understood.
Yes.
Understood.
Tried to pin me between the vehicle right here, and then tried to hit me right here again. Yep. I don't know what you need me to do. This is the first time I've ever had to do this.
Just have a seat.
Okay.
The look on that officer's face was like, yeah, whatever, just sit down. Again, like, it's clear that no one thought that anything highly illegal was going on.
I had to discharge my firearm.
Yeah.
He tried to pin me between my vehicle right here, and then I told him to stop and step out of the vehicle, and then he tried to hit me again, and that's when I fired.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's attempted murder. Do you have a supervisor?
I'm the site supervisor.
Do you have somebody above you?
Yeah, I'm gonna call him here in a second.
Yeah, call them.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing.
You want me to move my vehicle?
Stay right there.
Okay.
this security person is.
I just had to discharge my firearm. 4 shots. Someone tried to hit me with their vehicle. Freddy. He was on property. Told him to stop and get out. Told him he got back in his vehicle. Told him to leave, and then he said he's refusing to leave. So I pepper sprayed him. He got in his vehicle, tried to pepper spray me. Then he put his vehicle in drive. Tried to pin me in between the truck and the patrol car. I told him to stop. He backed up. I pulled my weapon out. I told him to stop again, and then he angled the car for me and tried to floor the gas, and that's when I fired. Police are on scene. They're right here. Yep, and the ambulance just showed up. But
We got a department supervisor who watched the whole thing. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
I'm calm. Like, okay. Yep. 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 I turned it on the minute I saw him park and get out his vehicle, and then that's where everything escalated. Will do. And then, is there a way I can get tomorrow off? So I can, you know, process what the fuck I just did.
He's requesting to have tomorrow off. So realistically, you know, it should be a policy that you automatically get time off after an incident like this. We see this in the police world. That is a very common practice after an officer-involved shooting in law enforcement. The involved officer gets time off, right? They get time off for themselves, right? For their mental aspect, because they had to kill someone or cause serious physical injury to someone that could have killed them but has seriously physically injured them instead. And it's for their well-being to decompress from that, seek counseling if they need to, have time to themselves to better themselves. But is also a time for an investigation to occur, right? We know that like 99% of these incidents are completely justified. I even say 99.9% are justified. But the fact that we even know they're justified, there still has to be an investigation. It's still a homicide. And the investigation has to be done to prove that it was justified. And so if, you know, it was an unjustified shooting, and the officer, you know, has gone off the deep end and just decided there's fucking stack bodies, taking them off work is one, a protective measure to protect the sanctity of that investigation, and then to also protect the public, right? Like if they were on some type of murderous intent and gone off the deep end, then obviously you don't want them working the road. That's obviously not the case. You know, like I said, 99.9% of the time of these officer-involved shootings, like, they are legit. Like, they are completely justified in what they're doing. It's more so time for them to deal with internally what has happened. The security industry, you know, what I talked about earlier, you know, if you look at local law enforcement, when was the last time they was in a gunfight? Probably been a while. Local security, probably never been in a gunfight in your local area. So what do their policies look like? Do they even have a policy for that? Has the owner or the supervisor of that company just kind of said, you know what, this is never going to happen. We don't even have to have a policy for it, and then just never worked on it. I don't know, but there needs to be some type of policy for that, and it should probably mirror what local law enforcement does. Time off. They need to have the ability to seek help for what has gone on, and not just the mental health, but the physical health as well. This is an extremely traumatic event. They've gone through a huge adrenaline dump. They've incurred a lot of stress on the heart. Their ears were unprotected during this encounter, so they now have tinnitus. That in of itself, they need to go to a doctor to be checked out. They need to have documentation showing that they've experienced tinnitus. That way, years down the road, when the ringing in the ears has not fully gone away, it still comes about from time to time, they can say, hey, this was a work-related injury. After I fired those rounds in an emergency without hearing protection on, I incurred hearing damage. And this is why I should be covered with my expenses from here on out. It is a work-related injury. So yeah, the fact that he has to ask, hey, can I have tomorrow off? That's just wrong. Like, it should be a given. Like, yeah, you're definitely going to have the next couple days off, right? Like, it's automatic. You should have at least a week off after an incident like this. A paid week off.
Okay, I know we're tight, but I just. Jeez. Oh, okay. Okay, I'll keep you updated.
Oh, this is the phone. Freddy, I love you.
Okay.
He had tried to pull out, and a security guard was standing in front. The guy kept going.
Well, why are we not
Okay.
putting him in there? Why?
Okay.
She's his wife.
Why?
Will do. All right, bye. Bye. Bye.
So she was losing her crap about why they're leaving him in there. Well, they see that gunshot wound to his face. He is unconscious. He is not breathing anymore. Doesn't have a pulse. Probably not going to be able to bring him back. And this is different from region to region of a state and from state to state. In one state, you may have in one area EMS follows certain protocols, and then you go to another part of the state, they follow different protocols. In some places where a person has a gunshot wound to the head and they have no pulse, EMS is like, yeah, he's done. We're not working this. Like, it's obvious death, right? Other places, they don't do that. They say, oh, we're still going to work them. They'll drag them out, connect the electrodes to them, do chest compressions, shock them if they get a shockable pulse or whatever, and then keep working them until they get to the ER, and then let the doctor there call it, or let the coroner come in and call it. So that part right there varies all across the country, and even like I said, even in one particular state, in one part of the state, they may do something, and then the next adjoining county, they may do something totally different. And then you go to the third, fourth county over, they do kind of the same thing as the first county, or maybe a mix of the two. It's really no gold standard on how EMS will treat stuff like this. But it's obvious to me that they see the gunshot wound to the head. He's obviously not alive anymore. So it looks like to me their protocols are, hey, he's done. Like, there's nothing else we can do.
God.
which is realistic. It really is. I mean, there's not much you're going to be able to do to someone with a gunshot wound to the face.
I'm good. Shook it up because I've had, you know, didn't want to do that, but.
Have you cleared everything? Have you cleared your...
Not yet, no. I put it right into the holster because I don't know what the police want me to do.
I saw them painted it red.
Okay, if I could get the next cars in, start blocking off.
All right, no, we stay by cars in this road. No. I need you outside. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's the thing that sucks is this guy talked about going to his car. In the crime scene photos, there's multiple cars in these parking spaces, and they're locked in. They are locked in by the crime scene tape, and the thing that sucks about death investigations is that scene will last for quite some time, and that means you can't go to your car. You can't get into it. It's crappy. That sucks. But that's the nature of the beast when it comes to crime scenes and death investigations is if your car is right there in the middle of it, sorry. Like, it's going to be hours before you can get into it. And obviously, now that's not something that, you know, people normally think about, right? Like, they don't think that, oh, my car was parked in this parking lot and a murder occurred next to it. Oh no, now I can't get into my car. How the heck am I going to get home? So that right there in of itself, you know, what would you do if you went out shopping somewhere and something happened? You come outside and there's police in the parking lot and there's crime scene tape up and your car is right there in the middle of it all. And then they say, well, this is the crime scene, nothing leaves. It's probably going to be a few hours. Like, what do you do at that point?
So who's involved?
It was me, man.
It was you. Okay. I'm just gonna have you
So let me
stay
go
right
back
here.
real quick. So keep in mind, this is in 2021. So we still have stupid COVID crap going on. Like, this dude's got his little mask on, and then we got this firefighter guy here with this full respirator mask thing on. I swear, man, like at some point, you know, within the next decade, even now, like your logical minded people will still look back and say what went on was incredibly stupid. But the numbers are small, right? And so, like, a decade or two from now, I don't know, I hope that more and more people will look back and be like, wow, that was incredibly stupid. Kind of like how we today in 2024 look back, you know, back in the 1950s and 60s and stuff about how they handled the nuclear war threat, you know, hiding under your desk. Like, we all look back at that right now today and be like, well, you're fucking retarded. Like, what the hell is hiding under your desk going to do against a nuclear bomb? Nothing. But, you know, back then they didn't know any better. And so I just hope that we get to that point in our society to where our future generations can look back to this COVID nonsense and be like, what the hell were they thinking? Like, they were incredibly stupid to think that these little cloth masks could protect against this super dangerous virus, and this super dangerous virus is basically nothing but a common cold. Oh man, COVID. We knew all along that the general public is kind of dumb, right? Like, I mean, you got people who drive past warning, road closed due to flooding signs, and then drive into the water and flood their cars on a daily basis. And so we know that the general public is dumb, right? But COVID really put a magnifying glass on it and really showed us how incredibly fucking stupid the general public is. Like, it's mind-boggling. It really is. And to see how people in higher institutions went along with this bullcrap and believed in it. It's like, you're supposed to be a smart person. Like, you're supposed to be someone we look up to. And you believe this crap? You're going along with it? What? Yeah.
Who's involved?
It was me,
It
man.
was you. Okay. I'm just gonna have you stay right here.
Yep. I'll do whatever you guys need me to do.
Okay, copy that. As soon as we get the parking lot locked off, I'll have straight to the Perfect.
Bye.
Thank you, man.
Hey, bud.
How's it going?
I'm Kendall.
Nice to meet you.
Come this way. We're gonna get you in a car, get you out of the heat table.
Can I just double check, see if my car's locked real quick?
We'll get it, don't worry.
Okay. I do have an AR in the trunk.
Okay.
Just so you guys are
Lock
aware.
up.
Yeah. God, did not think I'd have to do that today. Where do you want me, sir?
We'll just be in the back here. And you got your sidearm on you still?
Yeah, it's right here, sir.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't.
Just put the
As
hood
right
down.
right as I fired, whip right back into the holster.
Just have a seat. I'm gonna crank the AC for you.
Okay.
What's your first name again?
My first name's Logan.
Logan.
Last
Okay.
name Gimbel.
You need any medical at all, Logan?
No, sir.
Okay.
Slow down a little bit. Anybody in Rapalo's confirmed?
All right, so the police escorted him back to a police car, addressed the fact that he still has his gun on him, and put him in the back of the car with the gun still on him. So again, a clear sign that the police on the scene don't think that anything weird has gone on. They don't think that this guy is some murderous, crazy individual, right? If they did, they would have acted differently. They would have pointed their guns at him and put him in handcuffs and disarmed him. But instead, totally different from that. We see him get walked to a car, never put in handcuffs, get put in the back of the car with the gun still on him. Just clear to me that they had no fear of this guy. Alright, we'll skip through this part because he sits in the back for a while.
And then it should just.
You don't have to touch.
How's it going?
Hey, bud.
How's it going?
Go ahead and step out of the car. Is it cool enough back there for you?
It was a little warm, but it's all right.
Okay. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna take your firearm. You
Okay.
don't have to touch it, okay?
Yep.
We're just gonna wait for detectives and stuff. So it's
Okay.
just kind of protocol when
Yep.
somebody's in the back.
Yep.
So it doesn't say you're in trouble or anything like that.
Yeah, I know. I'm
Okay.
aware of the process.
And how does this?
So it's got a release right there that you should just push down right here,
Okay.
and then it should just pull out. You might have. I can pull it out if you want to. Oh, there you go. Okay, got it.
Perfect. Hang tight there. I'm gonna pat you down for any other weapons. You
got any Okay.
backups or anything?
No, sir.
Hang tight, please.
Well, I do have, like I told him, I have an AR in the trunk,
Okay.
but it stayed in the trunk.
Yeah, we'll secure it for you. Do you have any other weapons, anything like
No, sir.
knives, OC,
Nope.
anything like that?
Oh, I have the OC.
Okay, perfect. I'll just take that. Okay. No backup firearms, anything like
No,
that?
sir. Just the AR in the trunk.
Perfect, and we'll make sure we secure that. Perfect. Go ahead and have a seat. I'm just going to get your first name, last name, contact info.
Is it okay actually if I stay out of the truck? It was a little warm in there.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the window so the AC gets back there for you.
Okay.
What was your last name? Spell it
Gimbel,
for me.
Gimbel.
Perfect.
First name Logan, common spelling Login.
Okay. What's your date of birth, Logan?
May 1st, 1993.
Okay, and a phone number?
360-558-2008.
Okay,
And
perfect.
there's a weird thing with my DPST. I got armed during the whole COVID thing. I mailed my stuff off,
Okay.
and I have yet to get my actual card.
Don't worry about it.
But I do have the gold paper or the yellow
Okay.
paper that was issued to
Yeah,
me.
don't worry about it. Logan.
Okay.
You got a cell phone on you?
I do.
So that right there is another thing that was brought up at the trial, that he was not officially a licensed armed security officer in that state. It seems like a stupid kind of technicality for them to want to harp on. But, you know, in his defense, you know, this was during COVID, and you know, he talks about in his interview like how things were done a little bit differently due to COVID, and then you take into consideration, you know, how everyone did things differently during COVID, and he did his stuff, sent his paperwork off. Well, apparently his mail got lost or something like that, and paperwork didn't get to the entity that it needed to get to, and so he was never legally sanctioned as an armed security officer in the state of Oregon, and they used that in the trial against him, basically, which is kind of bull crap, because, like I said, COVID changed things. Businesses closed due to COVID and closed forever, like they never opened back up. Things dramatically changed, and so yeah, it's very likely that clerical errors happened because people weren't coming into work, right? They were remote working and stuff like that, and yeah. But yeah, stupid point for the trial. But even then, this is something that it's just useless information for these guys. Like they're not going to be the ones to be investigating this thing, right? Like he's already mentioned the detectives are coming, and if there was some good, realistic training being offered to security, that training would say, hey, you shut your mouth in an incident like this. You invoke your right to remain silent, because the police are going to do the same thing in an officer-involved shooting. They may end up doing a public safety walkthrough of the scene, pointing out things of evidence like, hey, if you look over there, you'll probably see a magazine, or you'll probably see, you know, bullet casings over here or whatever. But they're not going to go into, oh, well, this guy did this, I felt this, I was in fear, and then I did this. They're not going to go over it at that point. They're going to remain silent, and then they're going to give a statement, you know, 24 hours or so after the incident. So you should never make statements immediately after a deadly force encounter, because you are under the influence of a drug called adrenaline, and adrenaline can make you say some pretty goofy stuff. And when it comes to a homicide, the patrol guys are not going to be the ones who are going to be working the case. Yeah, they're there right now because out of necessity, right? Out of the logistics of police work. Like they're already on the street. They're going to be first on scene. The detectives are going to take a second to get there. It's the detectives who are going to be working this case. That's the person you need to be worried about saying things to, if you know you're going to be saying things at all. Like I said, you don't need to be making statements right after an event. You need to wait. So him trying to explain this certificate thing to them, a complete waste of time, a complete waste of breath, because this is unconcerning to them. They don't care. They're just there to secure the scene and then wait for the detectives to get there to take over, and then they're going to leave. That's going to be the end of their involvement in this incident.
You want to grab that for me? I'm going to put that back with your gun.
Is this recording? Was it recording?
It was recording. It's been recording the entire time.
Still recording?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
I do have, this is my dispatch phone too, if you
Okay,
need that
yeah,
one.
we'll put them both back there.
Probably take that.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take that. Do whatever you do whenever.
So Not totally a big fan of relinquishing a cell phone, especially if it's going to be your means of communicating with an attorney, and you should be contacting an attorney after a self-defense shooting. All right, like you should already have an idea of who you're going to be calling in the event of a self-defense shooting. It shouldn't be a thing of being like, oh, well, who is there? Well, I guess I need a, well, I guess, well, Yellow Pages. I don't think those, I haven't seen a phone book in forever. I don't know if those exist anymore. So it's, it's not like you can go look in the Yellow Pages to see who the attorney is anymore, but it should not be a case of you being like, well, who practices law in my town? Which one is the best to handle something like this? Like, that should not be a question in your mind. You should already know the people that you should be calling, right? Like, you should know which attorneys in your town have the reputation of getting things done. And those should be the ones that you should want to call in an event like this. But I don't 100% agree with, taking the phones away, because that then prohibits the person's ability to make a call to that attorney. But at the same time, they're preserving evidence in the case. So there's a fine line in that. All right. So talked about a whole lot of stuff. Talked about how they could have avoided this whole thing by having a meeting between all the agency heads, so to speak, and even including this Freddy guy in there, to make a very clear, even playing field where everyone knew everything that was going on and all the rules, establishing that security should have the ultimate say in safety and security in of itself, preventing other people from trying to override security. Talked about training stuff. Not a good idea to be staying in front of a vehicle. Need to get off the X. Covered a lot of things in this incident. And like I said, I'm just going to leave it to this body cam footage. I'm not going to go into the crime scene photos or the autopsy photos and comment on that stuff. That just makes it way, way, way too long. So if you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching.